The Ghost of Room 313. The story of the haunted hotel room had spread far and wide, drawing in the curious and the brave. It was said that in room 313, the ghost of a woman in a white dress could be seen, her expression forlorn, her presence chilling. The local legend spoke of a young bride, abandoned at the altar, who in her despair had returned to her room and never left it alive. Her spirit, it was claimed, remained trapped within those walls, forever waiting for a groom who would never come. The hotel staff, weary of the rumors but respectful of the tragedy, reported strange occurrences within the room. Objects would move on their own accord, the air would sometimes carry the scent of old wilted flowers, and the sound of soft sobbing would echo in the stillness of the night. Guests were few, and those who stayed often left abruptly, faces pale, whispers of having seen her reflection in the mirror, or felt the brush of a cold, despairing touch. Intrigued by the tale and skeptical of the supernatural, a renowned paranormal investigator named Alex decided to delve into the mystery. Equipped with cameras, audio recorders, and a wealth of experience debunking ghost stories, Alex checked into room 313, ready to encounter the bride of the haunted hotel. The room, kept pristine and beautiful in honor of its tragic past, was silent as Alex set up the equipment. Night fell, and the camera's infrared eyes saw what human eyes could not. As the clock struck midnight, a chill swept through the room, and the investigator felt a palpable sense of sorrow weigh upon the air. The equipment buzzed with activity, lights flickering on the monitors as if something unseen was moving through the space. Alex began to speak, asking questions into the silence, hoping for a sign, a word, anything that could be captured on the recorder. Hours passed with little more than the occasional creak of the old building settling in. Disappointed yet determined, Alex decided to call it a night, but not before playing back the audio from the session. What filled the room then was not the sound of static or the quiet hum of an empty space. It was a voice, a woman's voice, soft and filled with an ancient grief. It whispered a name, the name of the groom who had never appeared. And then a curse, a chilling promise that his betrayal would not be forgotten, that those who heard her tale would feel the depth of her sorrow. Alex listened, the blood running cold, as the voice on the recording spoke of a love betrayed and a life cut short. The curse was clear. Those who carried the story, who listened to her tale, would be bound to her, destined to experience the despair of her final moments. The recording became a dark token of the bride's pain, a harbinger of sorrow for any who dared listen. Alex, shaken to the core, knew the investigation was over. The evidence was undeniable, and more haunting than had been hoped for. Word of the recording spread, and so too did the curse. People reported missing time, overwhelming feelings of sadness, and in some cases, they disappeared without a trace. They were found days later, disoriented and haggard, unable to account for the lost hours. The hotel's reputation grew darker with each disappearance. Room 313 was sealed, the story of the bride becoming a chilling mourning of the power of grief and the presence of the unseen. The cursed audio lay in Alex's archives, a grim reminder that some spirits cannot rest, and some rooms should never be disturbed. The bride, in her eternal white dress, continued to wander the halls of the hotel, her heartache a permanent specter in the room of sorrowful goodbyes. The moving mannequin. In the heart of the bustling city, there was a clothing store known for its chic styles and the lifelike mannequin that stood in the display window. The employees named her Eliza, after a co-worker who had vanished years before, a woman whose style and grace were the lifeblood of the store until she disappeared without a trace one cold autumn night. Eliza's absence had cast a shadow over the store, one that deepened with each passing season. Lately, whispers of Eliza's return circulated among the staff. It began subtly, scarves draped differently, hats tilted at an odd angle, a change in the mannequin's posture, but soon escalated into undeniable fear when they found Eliza facing inside. her plastic hand pressed against the glass as if she longed to escape. Some staff swore they saw her roaming the aisles in the dim hours after closing, her footsteps silent, her gaze hollow. Customers started to talk too, unnerved by the way Eliza seemed to watch them, her head turning ever so slightly as they moved through the store. A few mentioned hearing whispers when they lingered too close, soft pleas that sent chills down their spines and hastened their departure without purchase. The store manager, driven by concern for her staff and the creeping decline in patrons, contacted a medium known for her experience with the paranormal. The medium agreed to hold a séance after hours within the store's quiet walls, beneath the flickering fluorescent lights. On the night of the séance, the staff gathered around, watching as the medium entered a trance. Her voice became a conduit for the spirit that lingered within Eliza the mannequin. The atmosphere grew tense, the air heavy with anticipation and fear. Through the medium, the voice of the missing Eliza filled the room, her tone desperate and confused. She spoke of being trapped, her essence bound to the mannequin, her human form lost to a realm unseen. The mannequin began to move, slowly at first, then with violent jerks and spasms. Clothes racks toppled, glass shattered, and screams filled the store as the employees witnessed the uncanny animation of the figure they had dressed and posed 1,000 times. As dawn approached, the chaos subsided. The medium's voice returned to her own, and the staff looked on in horror at the still mannequin. Eliza's face, once a blank canvas of artificiality, now bore the distinctive features of the missing worker, her eyes a mirror to a soul that had been tormented and restless. The police were called, and the store was cordoned off as a crime scene. Investigators found no evidence of foul play, no trace of the woman the mannequin had become the effigy of. The story made headlines, the mystery deepening with each retelling. Patrons ceased to come, and the store shuttered, leaving Eliza in the window, her whispers silenced by the empty streets. The mannequin, with the face of the lost, became an urban legend, a story told in hushed tones to those who dared to walk past the abandoned store. And Eliza, the woman whose disappearance had been mourned but never solved, found a strange, tragic immortality in the visage of the mannequin that trapped her essence, a haunting memorial to a life that had vanished, leaving behind only the whispers of a soul that could never find peace. The Haunted Hospital. The rumors of Grayson's Hollow Hospital had been a staple of local lore for decades. The dilapidated structure, once a beacon of medical innovation, had become an epitome of horror after numerous reports of malpractice had led to its abrupt closure. Now it stood at the edge of town, its windows like hollow eyes, its walls holding the whispers of the past. A group of daring individuals, a mix of paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers, decided to probe the mysteries of Grayson's Hollow. They were well aware of the stories, shadows that darted through the wards, cries that echoed down abandoned corridors, and the cold touch of unseen hands. Yet, the truth they sought was far more harrowing than any tale they had heard. It began with mild disturbances, flickers of light and equipment malfunctioning. But as the night stretched on, the disturbances grew into undeniable manifestations. The temperature would plummet until their breaths became visible mists, the air punctuated by the cries of agony that seemed to emanate from the very walls. Apparitions appeared, figures garbed in the antiquated patient gowns of decades past, their faces twisted in pain and confusion. Determined to reach the heart of the hauntings, the team delved into patient records left to rot in the administrative wing. There, amidst the decaying pages, they uncovered the true extent of the horror. Patients subjected to cruel treatments, surgeries performed without anesthesia, and lives left to wither in neglect. The souls of those patients roamed the hospital, trapped in their moments of despair. One by one, the team began to experience personal hauntings. A spectral child clutching the hand of an investigator, pleading for the pain to stop. An elderly man appearing in mirrors, his surgical scars weeping. A young woman in a straitjacket, her screams piercing the silence. With each encounter, The investigators' resolve wavered, fear encroaching upon their once rational minds. Then the disappearances started. First, it was the skeptics, those who had laughed loudest at the tales, who were taken. They reported a strange compulsion to venture into the bowels of the hospital, only to never return. Searches yielded nothing but their last terrified gasps captured on voice recorders and their faces briefly glimpsed in the static of video feedback. The final night approached with a heavy sense of dread. The last remaining investigator, Sarah, felt the oppressive weight of unseen eyes upon her. She knew she was not alone. Her colleagues, now part of the hospital's tortured souls, appeared to her. Their eyes, once vibrant with life, were now clouded with the same torment as the spirits that haunted the halls. As the dawn approached, Sarah recorded her final message. Her voice, once steady and skeptical, was now a tremulous whisper barely audible over the chorus of voices. The video panned to show her colleagues, now silent and staring, their figures fading in and out of visibility. With the rising sun piercing the fog that had settled over Grayson's Hollow, the hospital returned to silence. The video recording was found days later, the camera abandoned at the threshold. The lens cracked. Its last image that of Sarah's terrified face as she turned to look behind her. A look of realization dawning that she too had become part of the eternal lament that filled the halls. The hospital stands still, a monument to the pain and suffering of the past. Those who listen closely say the cries have grown in number, a testament to the new souls that walk its cursed halls. And at the heart of the lamentations, if one listens carefully, is Sarah's voice, joining the eternal choir of Grayson's Hollow.